The mid-range smartphone camera king? I'm sure we may all have a different opinion about that, but let's agree that Oneplus Nord 2 and Redmi Note 10 Pro are among the strongest competitors, so a bunch of rounds with side-by-side examples are about to decide which one of these has the better camera. Let's inspect. Hey, good day everyone and welcome to yet another thorough camera comparison. As a starter, may I share two important things with you. First one, each and every sample that I'm going to show, as well as some more extra shots, are to be found in a link in the video description part so that you can download and compare by yourself. And this video is not sponsored by any of the companies involved, so the review is as honest and based on facts as possible. Make sure to join me in this journey and let us discuss the results in the comment section below the video. Before diving into all the samples, quick flashback to the camera setups. Redmi Note 10 Pro is equipped with a quad-camera shooter, a main 108-megapixel Samsung-made image sensor with size of 1.52 inches, f/1.9 aperture. There's an 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera, a 5-megapixel telemacro, and an extra 2-megapixel depth sensor. Somewhat less on the OnePlus device, they've decided to rely on Sony image sensor, namely the 50-megapixel IMX766 with size of 1/1.43 inches and optical image stabilization. There also is the 8-megapixel ultra-wide sensor and tertiary 2-megapixel camera to support some of the shots. Apparently, we have greater pixel density on the Redmi, which is not necessarily a great thing. Furthermore, OnePlus have deployed an image sensor known for its spectacular shots from the previously released Oppo X3 using the same one. Therefore, the Nord 2, or at least some of the shots, should be up to par and maybe a little better even than the iPhone 12 Pro Max, so definitely interesting. Therefore, we dive into the main sensor battle with this very busy shot. A lot of text involved and clearly very stressful about dynamic range capabilities. The Redmi photo looks a lot sharper than usual, and the darker colors seem to mask the inability to capture texture in these areas. The photo taken with the OnePlus device has much flatter colors, which are almost perfectly accurate. You can clearly notice that Nord 2 has a bit wider field of view, which is nice, and zooming in 3 times shows that there's a lot, really a lot of advantage in terms of captured details. With this example, the results are much closer. However, although the Redmi looks a bit better at the first sight due to the aggressive sharpening and contrast, if we focus on the iconic Volkswagen Golf here, there's notably more noise. So the stellar performance of the main camera sensor in the Nord 2 wins in this round. Let us check the other cameras in the video and then we're going to test everything again, this time in low light. So the ultra-wide sensors, keeping the same scenery and wow, what a huge difference! The ultra-wide camera on the Nord 2 just nailed this shot. Even without zooming, it's clear which one has the better photo. Every aspect, dynamic range, colors, exposure, black and white areas, just an amazing shot. For the next example, I have to admit that at the first sight, this time I liked the Nord 2's photo better. But if we zoom in, I think the way Redmi is masking the lack of details is pretty decent. Also, colors are a bit warmer and nicer. However, distortions at the edges are quite annoying, and the sky looks a lot better with the Nord 2, so second point in a row, and this is a promising start for the OnePlus device. In the third round, we're comparing the 5x zoom. It's probably an uneven battle because Redmi has a telemacro sensor versus a zoomed-in image from the OnePlus device. Apparently the IMX766 by Sony, which is the sensor inside, is so good that a 5x crop is apparently better than the dedicated hardware in Redmi Note 10 Pro. Next, we explore the macro mode. It almost is a walkover for Redmi, because surprisingly no macro mode with OnePlus Nord 2. Well, there's a trick that I've tried and sometimes works good. You may use the 5x zoom, which combined with the optical image stabilization can give you some good results, but you need to be extra patient. And it's the first time Redmi clearly has the edge in this round. Let's see about portraits, and then we're gonna switch to video. Side by side, both have good bokeh, and honestly both photos are really great. If I had to choose one of them, the one on the right is my favorite. Take a look at Mr. Alex as well. Same kind of similar performance, and OnePlus has this extra option for zoomed-in portrait mode. I'm gonna call this round a tie, but you can step in the comments below and share with me what you think. Video is next and is of course one of the key areas. A bit of a surprise, let me know if you think otherwise, but the left video seems to have a lot better dynamic range, nicer colors and stabilization. On top, it's 30 FPS without a single frame dropped, while the Oneplus Nord video is counted as 29.82, so there was some sort of frame dropping. Switching to 1080p 60 FPS shows an entirely different picture. First of all, Redmi Note 10 Pro has no stabilization, however the image quality seems to be a bit better, meaning that if you combine it with a gimbal, it's going to be rather smooth and acceptable. If I apply some software stabilization, and that's a little bit of cheating, the image quality gets worse and Nord 2 clearly stands out. Furthermore, Nord 2 is the only device that can stabilize 4K at 30 frames per second, while Redmi supports the resolution as well, there is absolutely no stabilization. As the next thing, I've compared video performance with the ultra-wide module and oh boy, no stabilization on Nord 2 and apparently much worse image quality, so finally an easy win for the Redmi device. Honestly, given the much more video functions, it's no surprise that the Mi-made device is a lot better at video, especially knowing that you have access to some pro, even expert features like ISO, shutter speed control, and even some templates to be used. Although, wait a second, because here comes the slow motion to prove me wrong, Nord 2's 720p 240 frames per second looks better than the modest 120 frames per second of the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Here it's the image sensor to thank to, and the Sony IMX766 inside the OnePlus device is clearly superior about intensity of readouts. As for autofocus capabilities, in order to get the full picture we may need a lot more time and scenes. Looks like much more aggressive on the Redmi side and somehow jumpy and unstable with the OnePlus. Both devices responded really well during the time of shooting and none of them missed the focus on the right spot, so let's call this round a tie. There is one last camera to try in daylight, the selfie, and the winner here is tough to choose. On the left, all the details look great, there's sharpness even at the edges of the photo. The Oneplus Nord 2 has more aggressive noise reduction, but still maintains good quality, and the photo is somewhat better Instagrammable. So the front camera's under test, and that's a rather windy day, so you might hear some blowing into the microphones. But anyhow, important is to evaluate the quality. There obviously is no stabilization with the OnePlus device, which is kind of a bummer. However, we do have electronic image stabilization on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. And now it's your turn to let me know which camera handles the lighting environment better and which audio do you prefer better. Now, time to drastically reduce the light and see how both phones perform if it's dark around you. Note that these here are shots taken with a dedicated night mode on both phones. A standard photo is gonna look tad worse on both of them. Better texture, better colors, a lot more details, less noise. OnePlus Nord 2 shines again. A little disappointing and maybe surprising that OnePlus easily wins the next round with the ultra-wide cameras as well. Disappointing because I was expecting more from the Redmi. Now, before the next round, may I show you this comparison? Both photos are done with the same phone, however different lenses. The telemacro on the left and the main sensor's night mode on the right, a bit cropped. Comes to show that it makes much better sense to make a photo with the main camera sensor and crop it, as opposed to use a telemacro in low light. Looks like OnePlus take full advantage of this idea, however, since there is no night mode and a 5x zoom on the Nord 2, I'd recommend shooting in night mode and simply cropping the photo, it's gonna be a lot better. As for portrait mode, I can only say, well done OnePlus. Hard to deny the presence of a lot more details on the photo on the right and the so much better blurred background. If you see this on social media, you can easily say that it's done with a lot more expensive gear. Video is next, and it's again very intriguing. In 1080p, a lot more artifacts on the Redmi. This can be explained with the lack of optical image stabilization, which apparently brings the Note 2 in its own league about video performance, even though a bit darker. Same is confirmed in 4K, where I remind you that only OnePlus Nord 2 has the ability to stabilize, and the footage looks brilliant. With the ultra-wide sensors, finally the Redmi Note 10 Pro manages to score a point, more details and overall better balanced footage. With the front cameras, I believe both phones show equally bad footage. Photos taken with the Nord 2 are somewhat better, Maybe thanks to the cool idea to use the screen as a flash, but since the Redmi Note 10 Pro can stabilize the video, gets the point in the next round. So, believe it or not, we've just explored 20 different scenarios about both phones' camera performance, and in some of them with even more than one example. Again, all the photos as well as some extra shots you may find in the link posted in the video description. If I may summarize the results and highlight the key takeaways, Oneplus Nord 2, which originally cost around $100 more than the Redmi device, is clearly the better phone with the much better camera. The main image sensor shows stellar performance, no matter the conditions, and the optical image stabilization is a bliss, especially when it comes to video recording. Major drawbacks: the lack of dedicated macro mode and the lack of image stabilization on the front module. I really appreciate the fact that OnePlus have decided to focus on investing more in the main image sensor as opposed to getting extra telephoto, which, as you can see in the case of the Redmi Note 10 Pro, can bring some value in daylight and is something I'd easily avoid for night shooting. At this point of time, the MIUI camera app, however, has a lot more features and controls, especially the video pro mode settings, but if pure camera performance is what you're prioritizing the most, OnePlus Nord 2 is the clear winner. Furthermore, if it wasn't for the lack of 60 FPS in 4K, we could have easily compared it to 2021's flagships due to the amazing performance. While I wasn't that impressed with the cameras in the OnePlus 9 series, I can easily say that you'll hardly get a better performing camera setup at this price, and is in my opinion also better than the regular OnePlus 9, so maybe this deal with Hasselblad has started to finally pay off. Therefore, if you're looking to get something in the sense of a flagship killer, while both phones have amazing quality and price-performance ratios, I cannot hide my sympathies for the OnePlus Nord 2. At the end, some credits. A big thanks to Alex, who was very supportive when working on this video, and a big thanks to you for watching this comparison till the end, and in advance, thank you for subbing to the channel, because a lot more cool inspections are coming very soon. My name is Michael, been such a pleasure, wish you a great day, enjoy life, and I'll see you soon. Bye!